Hi friends, alright, so what if I told you that this one book can actually change your financial future? So welcome to the boardroom. Now this is a place where we talk about finances, business and everything that we require to run a successful business, manage our finances properly and live the life that we want to live. So today we're looking at the book Smart Money Habits, and this is a book I will personally recommend to every young person and every entrepreneur, anyone who is serious about managing their business or taking their business even remotely serious. Now I get it. Money conversations can be really awkward. We don't really like talking about money. Most people don't like talking about their personal finances, stuff like that. We don't really talk about money. And it gets worse because in our school system, nobody teaches us about money. Nobody teaches us how to manage your money, how to invest, stuff like that. We don't get taught that in school. And so we come out and get ourselves into quagmires, get ourselves into issues because nobody taught us how to manage our money. Now, this is what lack of financial education does to you. It leads you into massive debt. It leads you, makes you start doing poor financial decisions. And all these are better from a place of not having enough financial knowledge. So the moment money comes into your hands, the first thing you think about is, where do I spend this money, instead of how do I replicate this process and multiply this money. And so you find yourself that you're living paycheck to paycheck. And the reason is you were not taught about money. And money has been made to look in a way that it becomes too complex. The subject of money, like investing, buying stocks, buying shares, it has looked at it's too complex, or we just leave it, oh, it's for the rich, it's for the people who have money. So we don't actually look into it. But that is not the truth. You see, one of the things this book does is that it breaks down complex money discussions. It breaks it down into simple terms that even a teenager, even a young person can understand it. So let's look at some of the things you will learn from this book. Some of the things you're going to be looking at today is why budgeting is very important, why you should budget every single penny. The next thing we'll be looking at in today's video is how to manage your debt, how to go manage your debt properly in order for you to come out of debt. And then number 3 is we're looking at the buy versus rent theory. A lot of people have been saying, should I buy? Is it important? We're going to be looking at it from the perspective of the writer of this book. And then number 4 is how to thrive and survive on limited income. We all know once in a while we all go broke. Everyone goes broke once in a while. But how do you thrive on living with little? Now, these are some of the things we'll learn in this video in the next few minutes. Now, the first money habit I wish we were taught in school is how to budget our finances. It's very important that every young person learn the act of budgeting every single penny. On page 55, the writer talks about how budgeting is not about restricting your spending or stopping you from enjoying yourself. It's about giving every single penny. It's about giving every single pound, every single naira, every single dollar that comes into your account. It's about giving it an assignment, not really tying yourself down. So instead of looking at budgeting as a restricting yourself or tying yourself down, look at it as a way of giving your money a GPS signal or a GPS system. Even if it means, oh, you want to budget to buy a pizza, for example, let that pizza budget go into your budgeting spending for every single penny you have. I hope this actually makes sense to you. Because you see, what happens is when you don't budget your money, when you don't plan how you spend your money, at the end of the month, you're asking yourself, what did I do with the money? Where did the money go? How did I spend it? Where did it go? Because you didn't budget, you didn't plan it. And if you don't plan for any money, it will plan itself. It's that realistic. Now, one of the things this book introduces to you is what is called the 50-30-20 budgeting principle. Now, this is what it means. 50% for your needs, like your rent, your groceries, your utilities, just your primary need. 50% of your income goes into that. Now, 30% goes for your wants, the things you actually want, dining out, entertainment, Netflix, stuff like that. Let 30% go to that, and then 20% of your savings should always go into savings. 20% of your income, rather, should always go into savings. Is very important. Growing up, I used to think that budgeting means no fun. You're not going to have fun you're tying down every single penny. But what I've realized over the years is that budgeting gives you freedom and the ability to have that fun. Because look at it from this way. Let's say you spend every single penny. Even the Bible says only a fool spends everything they earn. If you spend every single penny you make every single month, it only means you have to keep working every single month. And for any month you don't work, you are broke, you're in trouble. Budgeting will actually help you, give you a level of freedom and don't let you find yourself into such space. So let's talk about debt management. Now you will actually find this in page 83 of the book. This is page 83 of the book. It says any discussion of finances and smart money choices will not be complete without any mention of proper debt management. Now, this is what you learn from this chapter of the book. You see, the author actually described two proven ways to pay off your debt, two proven ways for you to actually go debt free. Now, the first is called the debt snowball method. Now, what this means is that you pay the minimum amount of all your debts, then attack the smallest debt balance first. So you've got a debt list this way, and then you pay the minimum amount, the smallest amount in that debt, and then also you attack the smallest debt in every single your list. So let's say you have 10 debts to settle, you go for the smallest one, let's say 1,500, 320. You take out the 20 ones first. Now, what this does is that it motivates you. Now, psychologists have shown that when you achieve one tax, it motivates you to go for the second tax. So by paying off the smallest first, you go to the 20, the 50, the 60. That way, you are moving up the ladder and you feel like you are actually making progress. Now, the second is called the debt avalanche method. Now, this is where you look at all the debts you have. So we have a 5 list of debts, and then you ask yourself, which of them is giving me more interest? Which of them is creating more interest for me? Which of them is giving me more emotional stress? Because me personally, I look at it from that perspective. Well, which of them is putting you through more emotional stress, and then you tackle those ones first. So let's say you've got 10 debts, but the one of 200 is giving you over 30% interest every month. My advice for you is to take up that one first, because it's going to keep multiplying in the money, because the money will just keep multiplying. So take out the one with the highest interest, or the ones with the highest emotional stress first. That is my own personal principle. This is what you should understand. Debt is not just about freedom. There's a parable back home that says when you pay your debt, you get your freedom. So looking at debt from a place of stress and strain, no, you are trying to get financial freedom. You are heading towards financial freedom. Debt is like a chain that holds you back from your financial freedom. As long as you still have those chains on, you won't be able to get out of it. So let's say you are having a student loan, for example. The truth is, until you pay out that student loan, you might never get to financial freedom. And that is just a simple, realistic truth. So plan and that is why budgeting is important, because when you budget, you actually allocate maybe 5% to debt, 10% to debt every single month. And before you know it, see, little drops makes an ocean. But when you keep looking at it, oh, how do I fill this up? How do I fix all this debt? You just keep stretching the process. And then you stretch the stress along with it as well. Now, the next thing is buy versus rent. Should I buy or should I rent? Should I buy a house? Should I get into the mortgage? Or should I keep renting? Now, one of the biggest arguments out there is that when I rent, I have the freedom to move from one place to another, stuff like that. You don't get tied to one place. Or what if there's an opportunity somewhere else? Or should I buying a mortgage? I'm paying the mortgage for 30 years, 40 years, and maybe at the end of the day, if you're still alive, it becomes yours. Being optimistic here. So now let me say this. One of the things that come with renting is that it gives you what is called flexibility. Now, let's say, for example, you live in London and then you get a very good paying job up in Newcastle, which you can just pack your bags and you're off to Newcastle. But if you're actually paying for the house, you might actually start thinking of talking to the lenders or talking to the buyers and see if you can get someone, a new tenant to be there. If it is actually agreed, is buying a property sometimes can keep you stuck at a place if you're looking at it from a place of flexibility. And then when you buy a property, you also have to look at things like property tax, home insurance, maintenance and repairs. If the pump spoils, you're fixing it. You don't have a landlord to call. Meanwhile, if you're renting, something spoils, your landlord comes and fixes it. You're not bothered about the property taxes going up and down, the home insurances, the government changing the property laws every 2 market days. You are really not bothered about all those stuff because maybe you're just a tenant and your own primary responsibility is to keep the property fine and pay your rent. Okay, you see, this is what the book actually suggests. Since we are looking at this from the concept or from the idea of the owner, the book actually suggests what is called the 3x rule. So only consider buying when your annual income is at least 3 times the home price. So let's say, for example, for a home of $300,000, for example, you need about $100,000 annual income for you to be able to say, fine, I want to start buying this property. Young renters should actually focus on keeping housing costs under 30% of their income. Your housing costs should not be above 30% of your monthly income. That way, this leaves room for you to have spare funds to invest, emergency funding, and actually enjoying your life and just having fun. I believe this is going to be a whole different idea, a whole different perspective if you are looking at it from an investment point of view. But we're not talking about that today. We're looking at how do I manage what I have. We're not talking about, buying a mortgage because of equity, stuff like that. That is a whole new discussion of its own. So we are looking at it from a place of, can I afford it? Can I not afford it? Is it not going to put a strain on my income? Now, number 4 is, let's talk about surviving with the very little you have. Now, one of my favorite verses in the Bible is where Paul, I think it was Paul, that says, I've learned to be up and I've learned to be down. I've learned to be broke and I've learned to be rich. You should be able to learn how to survive with the little you have. And that is where one of the things this book is going to actually teach you. Now, this is what I will always advise people. No matter how much you have, no matter how much you earn, you can always find something to invest. And this is where the book talks about stuff called micro investing. And that is investing very little. And just forget about it. What I do is I use a system called Plum. They are not sponsoring this video, by the way. So I use Plum. And what Plum does is it collects a little amount of money from my account that I don't actually notice. It takes it out every single month from my account. Every month it just takes out £50, £30, £20 there. And I discovered that little by little adds up to something very big. So let's say you don't have enough money to go and do the whole investing stuff. You could just look for a system that automates the process for you, and then it helps you little by little, save little by little. Managing what you have requires you to, being able to manage what you have requires you to actually sit down and ask yourself certain life questions. I make £2,000 in a month. It is realistic for me to live in a property of 1,200 every month. It is unrealistic. There is no way it is realistic for me living above my means, living on credit cards. Because the concept about credit card is that you are spending money that you already have to pay back. That is the whole idea. Because if you don't, you're going to just blow up your credit account and get yourself into a very serious problem. So spend what you have, not what you are expecting. That is actually my newfound principle. Spend what you have. I want to buy something. I should be able to have 2 times the money in my account before I can go for it. If I can't, I am not going for it. As long as it's not a life or death situation, it is not very important. So this is one of my advice I would give to young people, and if you can apply it to your life, it will actually help you curtail your expenses. The first is try to cook at home. I've come to realize that cooking at home is actually way cheaper than buying from junk stuff like that will not fill you at the end of the day. So I go out, I spend $60 to eat out, and I come back home and I'm still hungry. So what's the point? Just find a way to cook at home, make your meals at home, cut your coats according to your size. And then when it comes to entertainment, you can actually find things like get your entertainments from YouTube. You don't have to go on Netflix. If paying that amount on Netflix, at a point I had to stop my Netflix because I wasn't watching the Netflix. I was too busy to sit down to watch the TV, and my kids take over the TV anyway. They watch their videos every so I don't watch Netflix. I don't have the time for it. I can't remember when last I sat down to watch the TV. So why am I paying £13 every month for TV? I had to end the whole subscription stuff. So sit down. Now, this is one of the things I will advise people who live in the West actually. Go through your direct debits. What are the things taking money from your account? I did that earlier this year. I sat down and I looked at my, what's it called again? I looked at my account statements about the things that I take, and a little £10 here, £20 there, £5 here, £6. Things that you don't even, most times, sometimes you subscribe to something and you forget about it to go back and cancel. And it's just they're collecting money from your account every single month. It's actually great. So sit down and look at your account and know where the money is going. One of the principles of financial marketing and business is always follow your money. Where is your money going? Because where your money is going is actually where your heart is. So look at, where is my money going? Is it going to something profitable, or is just going to what I don't know? Now, this is actually my advice, especially if you find yourself in a space whereby every single month you don't know what you did with your money, you don't know where you kept your money. Just sit down, look at your account statement, and ask yourself, where is my money really going? All right, so I hope every point in this video has actually helped you, has actually inspired you to do something meaningful with your finances. And if you want to get this book, I'm going to leave an Amazon link in the description. If you want to get one for yourself, it's an affiliate link. If you use it, it helps this channel put out more contents out there and promote our channel. to more people. So I'm going to leave an Amazon link in the description if you want to get one of these books. I actually prefer the hard copy, but I think there is soft copies out there. I'm not too sure. If you want the hard copy, I'm going to leave a link for you to be able to use and get them from Amazon. It gets shipped to your house anyway, and it's called Smart Money Habits by Ward Nash. So I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want one. Please do not forget to subscribe. I see all the subscribers. We've gotten to over 1,000 subscribers so far. I see all the likes, I see all the views, and I really do appreciate it. I hope this helps you, and thank you for joining once again. My name is Precious, and I will see you next week. Bye.